Alright, unfortunately, the class that I was recording, or the class that I was teaching, unfortunately didn't get recorded because it ran out of memory. Oh no. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be teaching through this. Okay? So, the first, I will be going over the Genki book, for those of you that don't know. And if, hopefully, I can continue on through the years, and I will be going through a whole bunch of different books to where you can actually become an advanced speaker. But we're starting off very easy. I'm not teaching hiragana and katakana yet. If somebody needs to hear hiragana, katakana, just message me, and I will upload hiragana and katakana. But right now I'm not going to do that. The vocabulary in the book, I'm assuming that you already know. Okay, you have to study that beforehand. Because all I'm teaching you is the kanji, and I'm teaching you the grammar. Okay, you should know the vocabulary. But the first thing that I am going to be teaching is the some interesting points about the greetings, because you have greetings that you have as well. So I'm looking at, in this old book, page 7. So as I said, you have Ohayo gozaimasu, you have Ohayo, you have Konnichiwa, you have Konbanwa, you have Sayonara, you have Oyasumi nasai, you have Arigato, you have Arigato gozaimasu, you have Sumimasen, Iie, Ittakimasu, Itterashai, Tadaima, Okaeri nasai, Itadakimasu. Gochiso-sama, hajimemashite, dozo yoroshiku. You have all of those. You should be able to know them. You should know them by heart by now. Okay? So, but what I want you to do is, if you're in a classroom and you're studying with friends or you're studying with whatever, I want you to turn to page 9 in the old book. Okay? And they have this renshu, or practice. And what I want you to do is I want you to act out these situations with your classmates. It's 1 through 11. I want you to act them out. And when you act them out, you know, make sure that you get them correct. I will go over the answers in just a second. Okay. First one. You meet your host family for the first time. Greet them. It would be hajimemashite, dozo yoroshiku, or dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Okay? It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You see your neighbor, Mr. Yamada. You say, Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. You come to the class in the morning. Greet your teachers. Greet your friends. With your friends, you're just like, Ohayo. With your teacher, you're like, Ohayo gozaimasu. Okay? On a crowded train, you stepped on someone's foot. You go, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. You know, that's what you say in English. But in Japanese, you say, sumimasen. You dropped your book. Someone picks it up. You say, arigatou gozaimasu, or arigatou. There's something that I will explain later. Okay? It's 8 o'clock at night. You happen to meet your teacher at a convenience store. Konbanwa. Number 7. You're watching TV with your host family. It is time to go to sleep. Oyasumi nasai. Or, if you want to be informal, like you know your host family, you would say oyasumi. Now, if you know your host family, okay? If you know your host family, okay, you would say oyasumi. So, the first couple times, maybe once or twice, you know, or the first couple days, you might say oyasumi nasai. Then at the second time, you would want to say oyasumi. Okay? You're leaving home. Ittakimasu. You have come back home. Tadaima. You're going to start eating. Itadakimasu. Now, these two are not to be confused. Ittakimasu and itadakimasu. Itadakimasu is about to eat. Itadakimasu. Then you have ittekimasu. Ittekimasu. Ittakimasu. Okay? So make sure you work on that. Don't confuse the two. Okay? You have finished eating. Gochiso sama deshita. And usually Japanese will put their hands together and they will bow and they will say Gochiso sama deshita. Kind of like this. Itadakimasu. Or Gochiso sama deshita. Something along those lines. Okay, so I have a couple things that I want to go over with you really quick. Okay, so you have Ohayo and you have Ohayo gozaimasu. Okay? Gozaimasu is more of the formal, what you would say to a teacher, what you would say to an adult, somebody that's higher than you. Okay? Now, for sayonara, you would say sayonara to somebody that you don't know, somebody that you're never going to see again. Okay? So you would want to say sayonara, something along those lines. Now, let's say that it's a friend of yours. And yes, I always will drink this. Whenever I'm in a classroom, you will actually see me with this in the classroom. Something, usually Dr. Pepper to drink. Okay? So you say, jamata, or at the end of every class, or at the end of, whatever, you would say, shitsurei shimasu, always make sure to bow. Okay? Now, sumimasen. Sumimasen. Sumimasen is actually very, very important. Sumimasen can mean two things. One, actually, it can mean technically three things. One, it can mean is, sumimasen. I am, mean three things. I'm trying to think here. Okay, so the first one would be, you step on somebody's foot. Sumimasen, sumimasen. Second thing, you want to get somebody's attention. Sumimasen, sumimasen. Okay. Third, so let's say that I dropped this sheet of paper. Oh no, I dropped it. Well, I have somebody, a friend, or somebody that I don't know that picks it up. I would say, dozo, sumimasen. It means thank you. But the technical term for it is, I'm so sorry for the trouble. I'm sorry about putting you through all this trouble. Okay? Now, you also have ie. Ie means, ie? No. Would you like to go eating with me? Or would you like to go out to eat? Whatever, eating, that could work too. And you would say, yeah. Technically. I'll explain that later, but yeah. Or, arigatou gozaimashita. Yeah. Meaning, don't worry about it. It's okay. You're welcome. Alright, so, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the grammatical aspects, okay? So, I don't know what page it's on, but we will find out. Oops, something dropped out. If you look on the page, everything is falling. If you look on page 14 of the old book, okay, you will see this. And I will try to write on this side because you got the annoying little blob that's right here. So you got X. Actually, I'm going to pretend like you can't read. Like you're studying hiragana right now. So you have X, Y, Y des. Okay? So you got X, Y, Y des. Hopefully you can see. If you can't, well, oh well. Okay, so you have X, Y, Y des. Okay? So in Japanese, if you were to write, I am a student. Okay? The way that would be written would be, gakusei desu. Gakusei desu. Okay? You could also write, my My major is Japanese. Okay, so let's say that this would be 2. My major is Japanese. Okay, it would be Nihongo desu. Nihongo desu. Okay, so you're looking at this and you're going, whoa, 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 wait a minute, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm confused here. I'm looking at this and it has des, and it has gakusei. What's going on? Let me explain really briefly. Japanese, when something is known, Japanese do not put a particle. Do not put the subject, because the subject is known. English, we put, I am Samuel, I am Bob, I am Tim, whatever. In Japanese, we just say Samuel desu, Bob desu, Tim desu. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to get a marker. It's very much easier to read. Maybe. If I can find a good marker. Okay. So, and I'm going to go find Okay, so there's that, right? So if it's implied, we don't do anything with it. Okay? So now, what is X, Y, des? What exactly is this? Well, des is am, is, or are. Sorry if you can't read my handwriting, but that's what it is. Wa is your particle marker. It marks what everything is. So let's say now that you have a subject, okay? So, your subject would be, what do we say? Watashi wa gakusei desu. I am I, particle marker, student, am is are. So, I am a student. Okay? Now. Okay, or you could say, senmon wa I misspelled it. Wow. Nihongo desu. Okay? Major. Particle for the noun. Japanese. And is are. So it would be my major is Japanese. Okay? Does that make sense? So because it's implied, if it's implied, you don't put it. If the subject is not known, then you have to put whatever. So, for example, another example would be like Sue Kim desu, or Watashi wa Sue Kim desu, or Yamashita-san wa sensei desu. Makes sense? Kind of? Sort of? Maybe? Yamashita is the person. San is the particle mark, is meaning Mr. You should know that. Wa being the subject marker. And sensei, des, and is. Spring teacher. Yamashita sensei, or Yamashita-san is a teacher. Make sense? Wa, particle, des, and is are. Okay, so, important, interesting thing. So now we go to your lovely what would you call it? Questions. How do you ask a question? Here's what you do. You just put a ka or ka at the end of a sentence. If you put this at the end of a sentence, then it becomes a question. So I would ask, do学生 desu ka? Again, this foreign exchange student. Am is are, question mark. So, are you a foreign exchange student? Here's the trick though. Japanese never, ever, or rarely, let's say, have question marks. So if I say, 留学生ですか? I'm asking you, are you a foreign exchange student? Or are you an exchange student? Or, you know, I could ask you, America 人ですか? Am is are, question mark, America, person. Are you an American? Are you an American? Let's just put it like that. I was going to say American person, but let's just put, are you an American? You always put a little period at the end. Okay? That is just for sentences. Okay? So now, let's pretend like we want to find out more about something. Okay? We want to find out more about what are they talking about. Okay? Or something other than yes or no questions. Okay? So, now let's say that we're going to do more than yes or no questions. What will we need? Well, thing is, you would need non or nani. Okay? That is how you ask more than just a yes or no question. Nan desu ka? Nani desu ka? Something kind of like that. Now, nani desu ka is not what you use though. Okay, so for example, if I were to put senmon wa nan desu ka? You should know what senmon is, which is major. Wa is your particle. Non, meaning what. Des, am is are. Ka, question mark. So, I would say, what is your major? And then you could say, Nihongo desu, nani nani desu. Things like that. Okay, now, I could say, 何時ですか? What time is it? Something kind of like that. So, non is used immediately before des or before a counter like G. So, non is used immediately before des. So if I have a des right here, then it's going to, and a non that comes before it, like right before it, then it's going to be a non. Okay? If I have a counter like G, which you should know what G is time. So these are connected. Okay? So you have non desu ka, G is time. So anything for non, it wouldn't be nani desu ka. That would be weird. That's why I said at the other time, don't say that. You wouldn't say that. Okay, so, for example, I'm not going to do that because you might not be able to see. So let's go for an example. Okay? Ima. Nanji desu ka? Boom. Ima, meaning now. Nanji desu ka? Notice, counter becomes non. Okay? Meri-san wa nansai desu ka? Notice though you don't put questions, but I'm writing it in Romaji, so I'm going to do it. Nannen sei desu ka? Mary-san wa nansai desu ka? How old are you, Mary? Nannen sei desu ka? What year in school are you? Denwa bango wa? Nan desu ka? Okay, so, what time is it? Maddie is how old? What year are you in school? Denwa bango wa? What is your telephone number? Alright, so, I know I've been talking so long and you're like sitting here going, when can I do something? Okay, now, we have one more thing to go over, and then you can do it. Then, it's your turn to do stuff. Okay? So, there are some exceptions. Okay? If you turn to page 18 of your book, you have counters. Okay? Like ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, /nana, hachi, kyu. Okay? Now, ichi, weird thing, okay? Whenever you're talking about minutes, becomes ippun, and talking about age becomes isai. Okay? So you have ippun, isai, ni, sen. 0 can either be zero or re. Re is usually used for example. For example, example 1, example 2, that kind of thing. It'd be de, type of thing like that. Ni is just ni. San becomes sanpun. San does not become. San becomes sanpun. Okay? She just stays the same. Okay? But, okay, you switch it. She also has a thing called yo. So, whenever you're telling time, yoji. Or it's not yon, it's yon. And then that becomes yoji. Sorry. So, shi, yon, yoji. Okay? And then yonen. Yonense. Weird. Okay, so you have yo. Here you go, oh wait. Shigatsu. Shi, meaning fourth. Gatsu, meaning month. The fourth month. Okay. Now here's the weird thing. You ready for the weird thing? Shi, yon, yoji, yonense, shigatsu. Here's the weird thing. You do not say shiji. Because if you... Shi in Japanese is a horrible number. It means death. So, when you go shiji, you're saying, it's death time. No, you don't want to say death time. You want to say yoji. Okay? Go stays the same. Roku becomes ropun. 1分1歳3分4時4年生6分. Okay? Now, nana, as I said, shichiji, or nana. Okay? 7 becomes shi, ji. Nanasai, but shichiji. I am 7 years old, nanasai, shichiji, it's 7 o'clock. Okay? Hachi becomes happun and hasai. Happun, hasai. Okay? Q, whenever talking about time, becomes kuji. And then ju becomes jupun and jusai. Okay? So, again, ichi, ippun, isai, san, sanhun, yon, yoji, yonensei, shigatsu, 6, ruppun, 7, shichiji, namasai, 8, happun, hasai, 9, kuji, and 10 becomes jupun, and jusai. So now, what I want you to do is I want you to, this will be the end of the lesson, actually, believe it or not. What I want you to do is I want you to go to the back of the chapter, not the back of the chapter of the lesson, whichever one you call it. And here you'll see suji, numbers. Okay? And then you'll see on the other one, shikan, time. Okay? So, what I want you to do is I want you to do suji and jikan. Okay? I want you to do both of those. If you have a friend with you, I want you to say it, to work on it with your friend. If you don't have a friend, I want you to say it by yourself, but out loud. Okay? Then, so that's it for today. I know it's weird, but I promise you, Next time, it will be a completely different classroom, it will be a completely different place. You're going to be sitting here going, what? Why did he change? So, just letting you know, different place. So, that's it.